Okay, well, we've been recording for I don't know how long now. We haven't even
10
done
minutes.
an intro.
10 minutes. We need an intro.
Do you want to do the honours?
No, I'm bad with intros. Fuck, we're useless, aren't we? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Two Peas in the Podcast. I am your humble host, Shay, and I'm joined by fellow reactor, rockstar, and Mr. Nice Guy, Dan.
Hello, Shay. You dingo dingbat.
It feels good to be back.
It does. It's been a number of weeks now since we've started releasing all the podcasts and stuff, episodes and the parts and that, and it kind of feels like no time at all at the same time.
Apologies for missing out on, well, it's not the last episode, but episode 2, time conflict.
Schedules. Yeah, just one of those things, isn't it? I mean, we're dealing with people who are on different time zones, on different continents. It's bound to happen sooner or later.
It's going to happen again for sure.
Yeah, there'll be a time I'm sure where I won't be able to make the call. So,
you reckon?
It's one of those things.
But you're Mr. Nice Guy Dan. You'll always find the time to do it.
Well, I'll be on my phone in that case. I know people who might be listening to this podcast rather than watching it won't really get this next little bit. But just want to say for those who are watching this, I am going to sort out this camera angle at some point. It's making me look terrible.
It's not that bad.
So I need to. I did attempt. This is probably where you're going to start this picture, isn't it? I did attempt to use my other screen. I have a second screen with a webcam in it, but that was even less flattering than I could ever imagine. So, apologies for that. I will be sorting my life out sooner or later.
This is a good laugh, though.
It was a good laugh.
Bit of a giggle.
I couldn't believe it. I was washed out. I was chubby. Which threw me. Fuck knows why. I mean, I know I've been enjoying my cooked breakfast lately, but Jesus, that's like my weekend treat, you know? I don't think I was putting on the pounds in the week. Although we have just gone through Easter, so I've been munching on some eggs.
But keep in mind, snake diet, it's always the last resort.
I told my wife about that. She looked into it, and in like the first few minutes of searching, looking into like the subject of it, it was just full of like people, like doctors and dietitians saying that you really shouldn't be doing it because effectively it's working your organs, things can shut down. And I'm like, I don't want my organs to collapse.
Not if you've got the fat to lose. Once you run out of fat, then yeah, you won't want to lay off the fasting. But as long as you got fat, stop fucking eating. Fat fucking pig.
Yeah, I know. Well, like I say, she did the research. She looked on Google for like 2 minutes and found that. So I haven't looked at it either way.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that. They have their own agendas. They have their own products they want to sell.
Yeah.
He's not selling anything but motivation. Even that's free. Like, results don't lie. And when I was fasting, like, that was the best I ever felt. So
let's just say we're not medical professionals. We're not professional dietitians. We're not experts by any stretch. So do your own research.
Yeah.
And if you want to take on the snake diet, by all means, the information is free. It's all out there. At the end of the day, it's just basic maths. If you're burning more calories than or even just by not any, if you don't do any exercise, if you're just there doing your day-to-day stuff and you're consuming fewer calories than you need, you're going to lose weight.
There's also a snake diet Facebook group that Cole runs. Like, there's thousands of members on there, and there's a bunch of people just results after results after results. It's all there.
Okay.
So look that up too, if you're thinking about doing it. But as for our first topic of the day, Dan?
Yes. So this, it kind of sprung on me recently that my mother-in-law is in fact, well, this is where the debate really started. She was born in Germany. Her dad was stationed out there for the war. Her mum obviously went out there to be with him and stuff. And I think they must have been there a couple of years because I'm sure her brother was also born in Germany. So there's at least a couple of years that they were in Germany. But she's lived here back in the UK like all of her life. She speaks English. She's, other than her birth certificate saying that she was born in Germany, you would never know she's anything other than that she is, So I said to my wife, so basically, she's German. And she was like, no, she's not German. She's British. I was like, well, she's born in Germany, so she's German. Even though she's raised here, she can't speak German. She's literally like so pro-British. She's just a standard British citizen. And I was like, yeah, but she was born in Germany, so she is German, surely. And it started bringing up this whole nationality thing. And I was thinking, that kind of makes sense. Because you get people with dual citizenship. So I thought of you, Shay, because you were born in New Zealand and you lived there for how many years?
23.
23 years. And now you live in Australia. You're an Australian citizen, right?
Yes.
You sound like, I'm sure they're like, am I? Did I move here illegally?
No, you're confused. Because I went over this recently. No, I'm not an Australian citizen. What am I did look into this the other day to see how many years I had to be here to be able to apply.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm actually not. And
you had to have opened a can of worms.
Yeah, you had to have moved here before a certain year. I can't remember if it was like 2000 or something. 2003, 4. I can't remember. But no, yeah, I'm just a resident.
Okay, interesting.
But as for your grandmother?
Mother-in-law.
Mother-in-law. German.
Yeah.
It's in your blood. There's no argument.
But this is, okay, so her parents are both English. So she's, in terms of her ancestry, she's English, but she was just born in Germany. So is she English?
Oh. She's born in Germany, but it's not in her blood.
No.
And
so
her parents are both British. Is that what you just said? Did you just say both your parents are British?
Yes.
Okay, then by that argument, I would say she's British.
So...
I must have misheard you. I thought she was born there and she was German.
No,
but
she
then
was
moved
just
over
born in Germany, and because of the war, so they were stationed. Her dad was stationed out there. But I was thinking, like, okay, so if I moved to the Philippines, and with my wife, and we have a kid, and they grew up in a Filipino school neighborhood. They speak Tagalog. Met somebody else. Are they still English? Or
yes,
are they now Filipino?
They are English, but also Filipino by heart.
See, you could say that. I don't know. I sort of disagree with that.
If one of the parents were part Filipino, even in the slightest way, then they would be Filipino. Part Filipino.
Yeah, so by blood, the kid would still be English.
Yes.
But in every other aspect, they'd be Filipino.
By heart.
It's just really confusing though, isn't it? Because then you start wondering, like...
Did you think I was going to say the opposite?
I don't know. That's why I was kind of picking your brains about it, because I thought if you'd moved to Australia, you'd have a dual citizenship. Maybe you'd be able to kind of...
Even if I did, I would still consider myself a New Zealander. I love Australia, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I'll never be Australian.
Yeah, so you're a New Zealander.
Yeah.
Because you were born and raised in New Zealand.
Yeah.
By New Zealand
parents. New Zealand blood. Māori blood.
Yeah. I had a good argument, but
This actually wasn't what I thought you were going to say. Like, I didn't realize this is the story.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate. Like another example, I was watching a TV show called Long Way Up, and it's basically Charlie Borman and Ewan McGregor on a motorcycle trip from South America to California. And one of the countries they were passing through, Obviously, they have to get their passport stamped at the different gates and stuff. And he had 2 passports. Ewan McGregor had a British passport, and he also had an American passport because he has got American citizenship. And I was thinking, but you're Scottish. You may have applied to be a citizen of the United States and had that, granted to you. So you are effectively an American citizen, but that doesn't make you American, does it? You're still Scottish. You're still from Scotland. You're British. You don't just change nationality.
Yeah. No,
Is that different?
That's...
Do you see what I mean, though? Like,
I do. Yeah, you can't just change. You don't just change.
So that's...
I understand where you're going with the whole, like, being born somewhere. Like, that's different, but it's still the same result.
As in, it's different scenario, but same...
It's a different scenario, but same result. Your nationality comes back to who your parents are and what they are.
Yeah, so in Ewan's case, he's British.
Yes.
So now if he has a kid with an American citizen...
That kid is British and American.
Yeah.
If the partner is American.
Yes, there'd be half British, half American.
Yeah.
And their, birth certificate and nationality, etc., would be American because that's where they were born.
Yes. But he is not American.
No.
Even if he has documentation. You're British.
This is why I think it's a bit strange. Like, so what? It's like a nature-nurture thing, isn't it? It's like, are you defined by where you live or defined by who your parents are?
It's kind of a different topic altogether. It's not just ethnicity. It's like who you are to the core.
So I'm putting it out there to everyone else who's watching this episode or this part of the episode. And if you have, especially because Filipinos move all across the world, aren't they? Overseas Filipino workers. And I know a lot of people are around the world on work visas. Or perhaps they are legitimately moved to another country, met somebody else and live another life. So I'd be interested to find out their thoughts on nationality. Do they consider them? They would obviously at that point still consider themselves Filipino, but if they've got dual nationality, are they sort of the country they're in? Is it Norwegian or US or whatever? Just how do they define themselves?
I'd say they'll still define themselves as Filipino. The whole passport thing is just makes life easier for them. It's not really, it doesn't really come back to who they are. By terms of ethnicity, but...
Whether you're a baby of 1 or 2 and, you move back to... Like in my mother-in-law's case, she was born in Germany, although to British parents. They came back to England. So whether you're like 1 or 2 years old or 40 years old, if your parents are still of a certain heritage, then that's who you are, isn't it?
That's correct. That's the easiest way to understand it as well.
Yeah, it's a bloody minefield, isn't it?
It's weird because in New Zealand, there's so many different cultures there. A lot of people that live there consider themselves a New Zealander. But everyone who lives in New Zealand or lived there for a certain amount of period or majority of their life would be considered a New Zealander, a Kiwi. I feel like that's different to being British or Filipino or Indian. I don't know, because I don't just consider myself a Kiwi. I consider myself Māori, so Māori blood, which I'm native to New Zealand. I put as the equivalent of being Filipino or British. It's its own ethnicity, but in New Zealand, that's not an ethnicity. Although then I'm asking myself, what would the Pākehā, which is white Kiwis, Pākehā, that's the Māori term for being white in New Zealand, they would fall under being a New Zealander. But I've never really seen like that as an ethnicity. It's a weird... you've confused the fucking topic, Dan, by asking me this question now. Because it kind of contradicts what I've just said.
Even time can affect it. So, for example, I was watching a TV show recently called The Luminaries, which is basically a show set in New Zealand. It's the gold rush. So if you consider people coming over to New Zealand who were there for work, who then decided to reside there. So let's say British people, for example, you get British people now residing in New Zealand. There could be two Brits that get together, pop out a sprog on New Zealand turf. They grow up, meet someone else who could also be from another British couple on New Zealand turf. So at what point do they then become New Zealanders? Because then eventually they will be what would effectively not so much native New Zealanders, but there will be in the same way like Americans. Because you mentioned Maori compared to New Zealanders, like the rest of
yeah.
the descendants. But like if you think of like Native Americans compared to what we now class as like the rest of Americans, which is mostly down to invasions and people going over from Europe and stuff. So their descendants really are from Europeans. But that's getting into a whole nother level, I think.
This is the difference, though. In America, there's obviously different cultures, but American, is that an ethnicity? I feel like it's like it's like a New Zealand. It's nationality. Sorry, yeah, nationality. So let me revert back to the question again.
What qualifies as a nationality?
Oh, okay. I think it depends. It depends on what it is. Because that's the only thing that's going to match what I've said.
Well, we have a huge grey area here. It makes you think maybe we're thinking too hard about it. Maybe because, you could go back generations and generations and it'd be a lot simplified. But there's so much cross-contamination now with different nationalities getting together, emigrating. There's no true blood anymore, is there? So do you define your nationality based on just your parents or your grandparents or your ancestors beyond that? Or do you define it by geographical location? Because that would be sometimes that could be a simpler way of doing it.
It's a tricky question.
Documentation.
I'm just Googling something real quick.
This would be like a thought-provoking episode for those watching.
I've just looked up nationality versus ethnicity because this is starting to confuse the shit out of me now. Technically, they are obviously different things. Mm-hmm. It says people can share the same nationality but be of different ethnic groups. And people who share an ethnic identity can be of different nationalities.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Is there another term? Is there another term for being from the UK?
Being from the UK?
Yes.
What is it, like British, English, Scottish, Irish, Welsh, Northern Irish? Irish? What do you mean? Is that
defining a group of like everyone who lives in the UK and has been there for a certain amount of time who consider themselves
British.
Because
we've got a lot of people who have come over here. Quite prominently, we've got a lot of Indian residents. And it could be not even that far back. It could be like grandparents sort of generation who moved from India or Pakistan or something. They've come over here. Other Asian countries are on offer, by the way, who've come to the UK for a better living. And so, of course, their children and grandchildren, which are now kind of like our age, who are born over here. So they are British by definition, but they are, like you say, different ethnicity. So same nationality, different ethnicity. And, you could have the same people who are still living in India, who are the same ethnicity, but different nationality. So
I think this is where it starts getting confusing, where the nationality is the same as the ethnicity. When it falls under the one name, it's when it gets confusing.
That would be like a pure-blooded resident, though, wouldn't it? Like you're fully one thing. Is that not easier? Because it's like dogs. It's like you got your full breed dogs, then you got your Mongols. So surely having your full bred, this is who you are, right the way back through your ancestry line. That's kind of your full-blooded
But
national.
this is how I look at it. If I move to India, let's say I'm 80 years old and I moved to India when I was like 5 and I lived there for my entire life. Does that and I happen to be of a white complexion, would that make me Indian?
This is my question.
No, I'm asking you a different way just to hear your answer to that. Because it all depends.
Assuming you speak Indian and everything else is Indian life, are you saying that's how you've lived your life? If you were,
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it?
It's confusing. Because you look at him, he looks like you. He looks like you plus another 50 years.
That's kind of you. But yeah,
would you look in the mirror and say, I'm Indian?
I don't think I would,
Yeah. Maybe.
Which comes back to my point. If just because you're born in a country and live in another one, does that make you, in your scenario, does that make you Indian or from New Zealand? Because if it's my mother-in-law, in that same scenario, she'd still be German, right?
Let's change it. We'll change the country. Same person, same white complexion. Change the country to New Zealand. The person would be considered a New Zealander because in New Zealand, being a New Zealander, being a Kiwi, covers pretty much every nationality. We all fall under one.
Mm-hmm.
Under the term New Zealander, Kiwi. If you've been there a certain amount of time or lived there most of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's different when you change the countries, especially when it's to a country where you don't look like anyone in that country.
I understand what you're saying, but it shouldn't matter, really, should it? You change the country and suddenly your perception changes, but why should it? But I understand what you're saying, and you're completely right. But it's it's your mindset, isn't it? So then you start. It becomes not so much a question of nationality, but then ethnicity, doesn't it? Because that's what changes.
Yeah.
If you change how you look, suddenly your idea of where you're from therefore changes.
Okay, I've got another scenario. Let's say let's say 5-year-old me moved over with my parents to the Philippines, and I spent the same amount of time there. I can speak Tagalog. I'm able to blend in the crowds. Would I be considered Filipino? It's a little different because now I can blend in.
That's true.
I'm looking like Filipino.
Arguably, I'd say yes, but then it sort of contradicts what we just said about India, doesn't it?
And we already know I get approached by Filipinos all the time. They all think I'm Filipino.
That's so true. I don't know if there's even an answer for this, really. We're digging and digging, but we keep coming up with different scenarios and different answers.
Different scenarios.
Interesting.
Basically,
maybe
all depends.
Irrespective of what official documentation say where you're from or who your parents are, because let's flip it another way, just to throw another one out there. Let's say you're adopted and you go into, or me, because I'm probably fairer skinned than you are, I get adopted by I get adopted by a black family, for example.
Yeah.
In another country. Now, how does that change things? Because I don't suddenly become, let's say, Nigeria, for example. I don't become a Nigerian, certainly not the way I look. But I'm adopted under a legal, I take on their legal name. I live in Nigeria. I don't speak Nigerian. But then I'm still going to be British, right?
Because it's the same as the Indian being in India.
Exactly. It's just strange. It's a strange one. Yeah, so what I was saying was, it doesn't matter where you're from, what you look like, you choose who you want to be. I think that's the only thing that they all have in common. You define where you are and who you are.
Only thing is, don't expect everyone to accept that. That's the only thing as well. Yeah,
that's very true.
People are going to have their own thoughts on it. Can be judged on the spot.
And that's when you get the whole racism thing as well. I think people can... There's a story I read the other day, actually. There's a a kid in school who was bullied for being different, skin tone, different skin color and that. Even though he was fully British, born over here, raised here, his whole life has been here. Just because he looks different, he was told to go back to his own country. It's shit. It really is shit. But it happens, and that's just, like you say, you can be who you want to be and define where you are and what you are. But you then have to deal with people who may disagree with you.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be the case, but it does happen.
I'd say whatever you feel in here is what you are. Fuck what anyone else says.
Okay, so the next part then we can talk about is cosmetic surgery, facelifts, and skin whitening.
Oh, where to start?
How do you feel about this whole cosmetic surgery world in general?
For me, I feel like a lot of it is unnecessary. You should not prefer natural. You know, I'm not a hard man to please.
Are you talking like natural tits, or are you talking like...
I don't mind, depending on what they look like previously. You know, could kind of vary my opinion on that. But yes. As for everything else, like, I know that a lot of people get their faces done. I feel like anything that when it comes to this, unless you've been in an accident or something like has severely disformed your face, then yeah, it's okay to have that done. But I think if it's just because you're not happy with how you were born, granted that you look fairly normal, then I feel like it's sort of unnecessary. Don't entirely agree with it. At the same time, to each their own. Who am I to judge?
Yeah. I just thought of the curveball then. I mean, because it's no big secret, you went to the Philippines, got your teeth done.
I feel like that's a little bit different though.
Is it though? It's still cosmetic surgery. I'm not talking so much about.
But like, everyone gets the teeth fixed. Like it's kind of different, isn't it? Ain't no one cutting into me. No,
don't they have to cut your teeth down for them to fit the new ones?
Yeah, but isn't that the same as getting a filling?
No, because a filling is just filling in the hole.
But they have to. And they don't just fill the hole. Sometimes they take off. They shave down like whatever if there's decay around it or whatever, and then they fill it.
Mm. Okay, I don't know. I'm not a dentist.
I feel like it's slightly different. I'm not. There's nothing. You've done it again, Dan.
Hey!
You've done it again.
Making you think about it all again, aren't I? Because you just said about, like, unless you've got something seriously wrong, like medically, or if you've been in an accident or something's happened where you need
well, then you have to
done.
define cosmetic surgery, Dan. What categories are you talking about?
To me, cosmetic surgery is anything is body modification.
I know, but
for an improvement, usually.
Yes, but it varies though. There's like, I don't feel like teeth falls under that because a lot of people get their teeth done not just for that reason, but yeah, fucking done it again.
Okay, well, we'll swing by that one because that's probably an open debate. So yeah, we've seen a lot of people over the recent years get some work done and share on their social media what they've had done. And sometimes it is good. It's an improvement. It makes them glow, I think. It makes them feel more confident because obviously they had it done. They feel good about themselves and therefore they feel better and they look, I feel that they glow to us. Sort of like look how great I am.
Yes.
And sometimes you look at these photos and you go, I like what they've done there. And then sometimes you look at the photos and you go, ooh, why did you do that?
See, now this is my reactions to those scenarios. Sometimes it's like, oh, it looks nice. And other times it's like, who the fuck is that? Like, sometimes don't even look like the same person.
Yes.
There's different levels to it.
I think some work's good. I mean, one thing I talked about with the title of this being facelifts is a couple of times if the lighting's not good in this room and I'm on these web chats, I get a few bags under my eyes, which I wish I could just, lose a little bit.
Are you telling me you would get that done?
If I had the money, I would get.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I would lose some of these bags. I'd have a better hairline because I'm starting to lose my hair. I mean, I cut it yesterday, which doesn't really help.
Yeah, see, this is where we differ. Like anything that's involving my face, my skin, like I just wouldn't touch any of it. But
you're perfect the way you are, Shay.
Thank you, there.
Yeah, I mean, I would have some done. I would, like I said before,
it's interesting.
Get a few things done.
I don't think you're the type of guy.
Well, I looked into it just before my first lockdown, so
of course you did.
Of course I did. It was probably about January or something like last, was it 2020? And I went to, because where I used to park at work was a good 10-minute walk from where I actually worked. And along the route, there was this hair clinic that I used to glance up at and go, I wonder how much they would charge for this. Would they do that? Would it work? Could I? Forget it. And carry on back to my car. And one day I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go in there and have a look. And I went in there, I got a consultation, and I swear to God, the guy who, the consultant, I swear was wearing a hairpiece. And it was like, when you sat there and he's talking to you, you keep looking up going, is it there? I can't work it out. Sorry, my name, it's Dan. Dan. Is that a hairpiece? Fucking hell, is it? And his beard as well was very well groomed. And I was like, he looked like a cartoon character. So I wasn't going to judge the results based on just him, right? So I get the whole consultation thing. And part of the introductory thing, they give you like a free sort of sample of what the treatment looks like. And there's two things they can do. They can either give you a wig if your hair's really bad, like it's patchy and stuff. They would shave it all off and it looks great, but anyway. And there's like a regrowth sort of thing where it's like a stimulation on your existing hair cells. And what they do, they put you, I've got a picture here because I was going to share it on social media, but I never did in the end. Basically, they give you these glasses which are like protective for your eyes, like UV goggle type things, and they sit you under this lamp, which it's not like heated or anything. You just sort of sit there, and it's supposed to like stimulate the cells. So the idea is you have repetitive treatments as well as using like specialist shampoos and things, and then eventually the idea is your hair would grow back. But of course, it's not going to. You won't like mane up like a werewolf. It just re-stimulates the cells that you've already. Your hairline that you used to have, basically. So that was me sat under the stuff.
I'm fucking dead. You never failed to amaze me, Dad.
Oh, I know.
That's hilarious.
And then, of course, after you get all your consultation, your free business stuff, they then say, right, if you want to continue with this is how much it's going to cost. And I was like, still cheap compared to actually getting hair plugs, for example, but it's still quite pricey. And I thought,
this is the first time I've ever heard about this, Dan. I'm very surprised you've kept this quiet until now.
I know. So I was like, maybe a couple more months, start saving for it, I can go ahead. And then, of course, pandemic hit and a lockdown, and then that was it then. So yeah, I'd have a few things done, but I draw the line at effectively reshaping my face. I wouldn't have like nose jobs. I wouldn't change. I wouldn't have Botox. And I suppose if the bags under the eyes thing is Botox, then I'd obviously have it, but not like the usual sort of like stiff faced look. Yeah. I wouldn't, change my jawline. Yeah. Have 3 fucking eyelids or something. I don't know what these things are. There are people out there who I think look absolutely fine the way they are. Yeah. I still think look beautiful.
There's people that have like drastically changed their face where I'm just like, there was nothing wrong with you previously.
Yeah, like huge lip fillers and cheek implants. I'm like,
yeah. Some people are ridiculous about it too. And the thing is, when they actually have it done, they take photos. They look ridiculous, but to them, they look this beautiful girl in the world. I'm just like,
and weirdly,
wow.
The comments as well have been very promising. A lot of people have been saying how great they look and almost reaffirming the reason why they did it in the first place.
Oh, you're talking about a specific person? I was talking about like a random image that I've seen online.
Well, even then, the comments are still generally going to be quite good, aren't they? They're going to be very supportive and very sort of, oh, wow, you look fantastic. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I kind of like the way it was before.
Yeah,
I don't see the reason for it. I don't know what advantage, apart from bleeding you dry for the cost of it. I don't know why you would go through so much change. I mean, for your career, I mean, it's already going great. I don't know what it is.
I know who you're talking about.
Is it acceptance? I remember reading a comment once from a certain someone saying that basically because they don't look right in the eye of what the status should look like.
Yes,
their career hasn't gone as well as hoped. So
that's what I was thinking as well. I feel like that's a huge part of it is how they may look to people in the grand scheme of things to further themselves.
But then surely it's all false anyway. Like the image of being a celebrity and being performant, whatever that might be. Like social media, people look on through people's feeds and go, "Oh, what an amazing life!" Yeah, you only post like a fraction of what your life actually is.
Yeah,
the rest
it's the
of behind
highlights.
the scenes, it could be shit, right? You could have a really terrible life, but you post a nice picture of a beach. Suddenly, everyone's like, "Oh, what a great life!"
Yeah,
and all you're doing there is just making you look like a permanent social media post.
and Instagram models are the worst for it. Like none of that is real.
I don't get it. So the illusion of what the industry is, I think, is just tarnished by, I don't know, everyone before them. It's a shame. It's a shame. The one thing I don't get, though, I mean, you talk about like facelifts and nose jobs and whatever it might be you have done. It's the skin whitening that I just don't understand either.
Yeah.
Like you're not just trying
especially
to
in the
change the way you
Philippines.
look in terms of features, but you're changing the way your skin color is. Like you're almost trying to change identity, completely change yourself.
Especially in the Philippines, it's huge. Like there's skin
whitening
whitening soap
soap
commercials every 10 minutes, every break. Because I saw it when I was over there. I was just turning on TV, just trying to kill some time. Even when I was at the dentist waiting to get my teeth looked at, soap whitening commercial. So what the hell is this? Why is this even a thing? And why are people okay with it?
I remember speaking to a friend. I'm not going to name them. We both know them anyway. And they were saying that the industry wants them to kind of use it. Maybe it's more commercialized or makes them more commercial. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
but they sort of refuse it because it's like, well, this is who I am, and I absolutely respect them for it. I love them for it.
If you look at celebrities in the music industry, Filipino to be specific, most of them have used whitening soap or whitening products.
It's funny, actually, now I'm thinking about it, like when you go to the Philippines and you just see random people on the streets, just in the supermarket, whatever, they look different to the artists that we react to, but you don't really know why. And I think that's what it is. I think maybe that is the difference. I think Filipinos are darker skinned naturally.
Majority.
And I just thought maybe it's just depending on where you live. Like if you live south, more south, that's just really shit.
Or they just came from mixed families and they just happen to be famous and sing.
Being from Spanish descent and all, I thought maybe it's part of their lighter skin tone was because of maybe mixed ancestry. But now I'm thinking maybe it's just down to the soap.
Yeah.
Fucking soap, mate.
It's fucking soap, mate. Yep, because they view it, the whiter you are, the higher you are. Their perception.
That's wrong, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fucking foul.
Awful.
It's disgusting. Not saying that white is disgusting, but the concept that white is. But the thing is, this is a worldwide thing. Like,
yeah.
But it's just bad that that's just how it is in the Philippines, and they accept it to the point where there's commercials every break.
It angers me that someone's thought that that's what people want, and people do buy it. It's just it's like they see white as being superior, and that's really bad.
It's so strange because when you see like Instagram models, like they'll kill to have their color skin to be tan and certain like brown complexion. They'll kill to have that, and it's the opposite in the Philippines.
That's actually interesting because then you
People go tanning all the time, but not in the Philippines. Obviously, they don't need to. They can just walk outside, and obviously because of the color of their skin. But just the fact that it's the opposite there, they have the opposite mindset.
That's really interesting. You're right. I think a lot there's tanning studios, in salons. There's people of going abroad to get tanned. So why is that different? You're using the sun to tan, where they're using soap to whiten. Because
it's integrated in their culture. How they were raised. It's like it's always been like that.
Well, here's a question then, and I think it's a fair question. When a white person goes to somewhere hot, they burn. It's just the way it is. Native residents of said country don't burn because their skin darker. I can't remember the name of it now. There's something in the skin, the pigmentation anyway. Obviously, being darker skinned, it absorbs the sun, therefore you don't burn, and that's why people don't tend to wear sun cream who are living in the country that they live in. So if you live in the Philippines where your skin's naturally darker and, obviously don't require sun cream, if you whiten your skin, do you therefore have to wear sun cream, or do you negate that?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. You're changing the color of your skin. Is your skin able to change back because of the sun? I don't know. I haven't looked as much into it to how it actually works.
I've noticed a lot of people using cosmetic surgeries for top-ups, if you like. They get like regular skin treatment sessions, I guess. And I don't know whether that's to top the whitening up, if it's just to keep their skin looking smooth, if it's to, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Don't know.
Don't know if it's just to have clear skin or if it's for
like
something else.
Maybe I'm just of the wrong generation to not really understand that. But just the mindset of like cosmetic surgery is one thing, but when you when your whole life revolves around trying to live up to a certain look, I think that's just wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there.
You are beautiful the way you are.
Exactly.
Not you, Shay.
Exactly. I'm just thinking, we missed anything with the whitening? Because it's quite a serious topic. There have been YouTubers that have spoken on this.
Mm-hmm.
I think one that comes to mind is Will Dasovich. I can't remember where he went with the video, but I know he's covered this topic before. I don't know if it's bring awareness to it, because I feel like everyone's pretty much aware of it, but just the idea that it's normal and that it's okay. That idea needs to change.
Yeah, but I don't fancy being the face of that. Coming from a white person.
I don't mind, mate. I don't mind just fucking opening up a can of worms.
I think we're opening up a can of worms.
They can all hate podcast. Me, Dan. They can all hate this guy. That's all good with me. I would love to be the face to try and bring some sort of change.
I think something does need to change. I think a lot of it is ingrained in the culture, isn't it? It's sort of like, you want to become famous, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and one of those is skin whitening. It's sort of like I say, maybe it's perceived to be desirable, so therefore, if you want to be picked for something, you have to look the part. But there are so many great singers, like across the world, of so many different nationalities that don't need skin whitening. So I don't understand why it's.
You know what's interesting? A lot of their favorite singers, majority of them are black.
Oh, really?
When I'm thinking about, ballads and a lot of the artists that they idolize, Whitney Houston, a lot of the current artists today, Beyonce, her, these are all black, African-American singers. They're darker than them, so why? I don't understand. I don't understand how it works in the Filipino show business. I'm trying to think of a popular singer that reflects Filipinos as a whole in terms of skin tone. There's none that come to mind.
In terms of a Filipino?
In terms of
like someone...
As a Filipino singer in the music industry is very popular that reflects the skin complexion of the Filipino community.
I have a name, but I'm going to Google before I say the name because I don't want to get it wrong. Asia's Nightingale.
Oh.
But looking at photos of her over the years, there's one, if you just type in JF Filipino, pulls up a bunch of images. One looks like it's from the 89. In fact, it's dated there. She looks darker than she does now, so she may still have used it, but I don't think she's fully committed.
Yeah.
But she is the only one that comes to my mind. But then I don't know her background either.
I've seen her live too.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering why she's so familiar.
So
she was at Katrina's concert.
Let's see where she's from. That might influence. Oh my God, her actual name is Maria Luisa Ramsey Kagastian Godidok.
That's a long name.
Known professionally as Jaya. This is what I suspected, right? So her family, her parents are mixed from Jamaican and Visayan. So her darker complexion could be down to the fact that she's got part Jamaican.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can't think of anybody else who has darker skin complexion.
If we go back and look at some of the popular artists right now in the Philippines,
I know what you're going to say.
You can see slight differences in their skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done it to the point where they're completely white, but gradually over time they've lightened their skin to the point where you may not necessarily notice it unless you go right back.
It's like
to where they were first in the limelight.
It's so gradual you don't notice it, but looking back you can see.
But if you look at it now, because I've noticed that
with skin tone either. Not only do I think in terms.
Are you talking about hair color?
I'm talking about body shape. And I'm talking about potentially.
Oh, you're gone there.
Some work on the face. Potentially, I haven't. That could be a weight thing as well. I
thought you were talking about somebody else.
Oh, right, you're going to go there. Then also, yes.
Don't want to go there. I thought you were already there.
I'm there with you now. I've paralleled and I'm back on the straight and narrow.
Because that particular person also has some other things done. Don't want to say any names. I don't want to get shit on in this episode. I don't want to be forced to make an apology video. Make an extra episode.
Yeah, that was like a bonus feature of episode 1, wasn't it? Jesus Christ. I think it's a fair comment to say that the Philippines is a lesser developed country than other parts of the world. There's a lot of poverty there. We know that. We've experienced it. We've done our charity outreach stuff over the years as well, so we know. So you would think that with their ways of living that they will, and no doubt do, appreciate the smaller things in life. So why don't they appreciate the way they look au natural?
Do we mean as everyone? Or do we mean as in people who are pursuing a career in the Filipino show business?
I think anyone more so than everyone. Because
I feel like they're both kind of overlap.
They do. There are probably plenty of people who maybe haven't gone down that route yet, who maybe haven't started a career yet, or maybe want to start a career yet and are considering options. I think they can also be put in the same category. So I just think generally people should just love what God gave them. Unless he's blessed you with no tits, in which case...
If you need someone to give you an opinion after the job is done, I'm right here. I couldn't help myself.
Oh, God.
I have a fix for this problem. Get rid of these fucking soap whitening companies and then it's done. Shut the fucking things down.
It's almost like a drug though, isn't it? You know, it's bad for, I mean, not obviously drugs are bad in a different kind of way, but bad for you, but it's a big industry.
Oh yeah, I assume it's easily accessible. Like, you don't need anything to get soap whitening, just convenience store.
Yeah, I know, but just saying, like,
I know, but that's even worse is what I'm saying. It's just,
oh yeah,
it shouldn't be like that.
That's a good point, actually. Maybe it should be a more licensed product.
Yes.
If it has to be sold. But, you know, we can't solve all the world's problems in a day.
We can try. Well, I'll let you start it off.
Okay.
Because I think you worded a bit more politely or more...
Sensitively
than I would.
Yeah, it's just a topic that I've thought about from time to time, because I used to do a lot of wedding videos, and you do a lot of them in churches, and the vicar guy with the registrar or whoever would give like talks, read stuff from the Bible and stuff, and you start thinking about what they're saying and have your own takeaway on these things. And whether you're religious or not, you can still find something to take away from. And one of the things I always wondered about really was being like a homosexual. And I want to just clarify that I'm very much straight.
Me too.
I have
Me
a kid.
Me too, Dan. Me too.
And I am married. Yes.
I'm
But this topic is
single.
something that I thought for other people. So, I was curious, mainly because of the Philippines, I guess, because the Philippines is, as I understand it, predominantly a Christian country. And I couldn't help but think, from what I'm not an expert in the Bible or anything like that. Believe me, I'm not an expert. I'm just things that you hear through the grapevine.
Me neither.
Good little disclaimer. I do wonder how they perceive being gay over in the Philippines, because it's common knowledge that the Philippines has quite a large gay community, as I'm sure does most of the world, but the Philippines in this particular example. But they're also quite a Christian country. So I was like, I'm sure somewhere there was a thing about Christianity and homosexuality being like considered a sin. And I was like, let me research a little bit more about this.
Oh.
So I pulled up a few pages on Google, and there's a bunch of quotes that I have, and I've bolded a few of actual lines because it's quite a lengthy thing to read. But just paraphrasing, there are definitions within the Bible that say, any and all sexual activity which takes place outside of this context is treated as sinful, and what Jesus calls sexual immorality. Other quotes include, both male and female same-sex practice are treated as sinful. And also another quote that says, more of like a redemption thing, I guess, but it's still considered, I think, negatively. The prospect of forgiveness and eternal life is held out for anyone who turns from sin and puts their faith in Christ. So what that, as I understand that, is saying that, yes, you can still go down your road of homosexuality, but as long as you come back from that and you put it to one side, and basically if you give up the life of being a homosexual, then you can be once again welcomed into the arms of Christ and your life of immortality or whatever it is that they promise in the good old heaven there. Which again, is basically saying don't be gay.
Forgiven.
So I was like, and again, just going back to the whole Filipino Christian thing, they are quite religious out there.
And very religious.
They follow various aspects of the Bible. So what I just couldn't understand, if Christianity sees gay people as a sin, how is that okay to follow a religion then that deems that unacceptable? If you
in
are
the Philippines,
yourself. In the Philippines, well, anywhere, but yeah, in the Philippines,
but specifically in the Philippines, because there's quite a large community out there. They fall under the LGBTQ community, because there's no hiding the fact that there is so many people that fall in that group. I was going to ask, why does it not affect their families and religious side? But I actually don't know if it does affect their religion and how they are with their family. But and let's use this for an example. I've been in the Philippines where I've used certain dating apps, right? What's that spiritual? And literally, maybe every third or fourth person is either gay or transgender. Like, that's how common it is over there. Where does that fall with their religion?
I suppose it's a question that may not have an answer, or we may not.
Or do they just choose to ignore that part of the religion?
Well, then that's a different question, then, isn't it? It's like, well, how religious are you? Because you can't be half pregnant, right?
Okay, I kind of need to say this before we go any further. I'm not the most religious person in the world, although my nana, who has passed away many years ago. She was very religious. She was a Christian. Because I don't fall under the religious side or the LGBT community side, I have no issues with either. So we're just curious as to how the two come together. So we just need to make that known in case people think that we're. I hate this term because people have said this on my channel very early on. They said I was homophobic. I'm like, I don't give a shit about you enough to even feel some type of way. So I want to make that known.
Yeah, and I also
because we're gonna get hate comments on this because it's not a popular topic to talk about.
It's not. They always say if you want to, have a conversation with someone, don't involve religion or politics because it starts a heated debate.
Exactly.
But I also want to add and say that I've got family on my wife's side and my side who are gay. I've got friends who are gay, so I've got no problem.
Yeah, so do I.
People being gay,
yeah.
And I know people who are religious. I know people who are complete atheists. So
yeah.
Well, I sit on the fence is I'm open to anything, but I used to believe a lot more when I was a kid, and that's because I was probably impressionable as a child, and you not believe the stories, but you want to hope that there is something explainable. But as you get older and you see more of the world, and you see what religion does to some people, and certain belief systems, and just what in terms of the day-to-day politics of life, you then start questioning a lot of things. So it isn't that I've lost faith as such. It's just that I've had no real experience to convince me otherwise.
Yeah. I kind
of sit on it.
I'm right there. Yeah, I'm exactly. Yeah, like a lot of the stuff, it has to make sense for me to believe it. Like if it doesn't make sense to me,
science and religion is my viewpoint.
I'm kind of the same. I need some fucking proof to believe. To believe stuff. If it doesn't make sense to me, count me out of it. But we're just genuinely curious.
Yeah. And actually, just on a slight tangent here, we sometimes, not very often, but sometimes we have people knock on our door from the Jehovah's Witness, that kind of thing, or just other people trying to preach to us on our doorstep. And the first thing you think of when you open the door is, you know what I mean? Like you go, you know where it's gonna go.
I've had it before. I'm just like, fuck, now I have to be polite. Like, I'm not, and because you're Mr. Nice Guy, you just can't tell them to piss off. Like,
if I see him coming down the road, I won't answer the door.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but in saying that, there have been occasions where I've answered the door, and for me, it's an opportunity not to be horrible, but I do genuinely. They try and preach me, but I generally try and ask them questions and say, well, you're doing this, okay, fine, and this is what you're telling me about the Garden of Eden and stuff. And I start saying things like, well, how do you know that exists? Have you seen it? And I
can imagine you responding that way too.
Not trying to convert them as to an atheist viewpoint, but just sort of like make them question things, right? Like they're trying to make me question my everyday kind of thing. Why is that okay to be a one-way street? So I start conversing with them again, not in a horrible way. We generally have a discussion about it. It's quite interesting when you hear what they have to say. It's like trying to talk to a flat earther kind of thing. It's interesting, but it's not that heated, which is kind of nice. I'm just curious as to why the Philippines has such a huge following for Christianity, which the very religion outlaws LGBTQ communities or people.
The fact that so many people are openly gay means that they obviously, majority don't have any issues with that, and majority are religious. So yeah, why isn't it a big deal when in a lot of other countries, like, it's a big fucking deal? It's like some families would disown you. Like, it can get really bad in other countries.
In some countries, it's a death penalty.
It's fucking bad.
Which is,
maybe that's selective when it comes to religion. Who knows?
This is
as in what they choose to believe within the religion itself.
Yeah, and that's kind of the grey area.
Maybe they just turn a blind eye to that one fact. I think that's what it might be. If
you are religious and you follow it to the letter, whether you turn a blind eye or not, you're not fully committed. And that then makes you question, well, if you're happy to turn that leaf over, then why not turn a few more leaves? Why?
True.
I suppose ultimately,
But if they've turned a blind eye to that, then chances are that they've turned a blind eye to the idea that that's a turned a blind eye.
I see that. Yeah.
So there's no issues. We're good. We're religious. Okay, fine.
I just
We can
don't.
all live happily ever after.
But it's like, whatever you believe. I mean, the way I see it, and this is just my own opinion, the Bible, as old as it may be, as rewritten as it may be,
That's the whole
whatever you
issue
believe
for
in,
it, though, for me.
it's just like Chinese whispers, isn't it?
Exactly.
It could, but irrespective of what you believe the Bible to be, or how it's written, or whatever it is, ultimately, for me, the Bible is just a set of stories, morals, really. It's just thought-provoking stuff to lead you on a good path of being a good citizen. Like the obvious stuff: don't murder anyone, don't shit in your neighbour's drive, for example. You know, there's a lot of things you can take away from that, and you don't need to be religious, I don't think, to see these morals. Just if you know deep down you're a good person, you do things out of the kindness of your heart, and you know, be a good person, that is surely enough. And a lot of that is probably upbringing through, you know, parents and people who you're surrounded with. But I don't believe it's down to religion to put you on that path. And I don't want to make this sound offensive either, so just hear me out. Santa Claus, right? We know he's not real, but the kids believe in him. And leading up to Christmas, you know, you could tell your child, you know, if you be naughty, you won't be on the good list and you won't get your presents. And of course, they all act good, and of course, they get their presents, and Santa's being and all that kind of stuff. To me, when you strip it down, there's not really a lot of difference. The Bible is the Santa Claus. So they're the stories that you get told over your childhood to put you on that path to be a good person. It's the same parallel. I'm not trying to compare Santa to God, by the way. It's just an analogy, a metaphor. But it's the same kind of logic in that sense. It's just stories being told through generations to put people on a good path. Because even down to different religions, some religions have more than one God. Some have different scripts, but the stories are quite similar. So it's just like a how-to guide of being a good person.
Yeah.
In my view. And also, I think it should be taken as guidance more so than to the letter. So, you know, going back to is it okay to be gay? Of course it is. You don't have to follow. Don't forget, these texts were written thousands of years ago, right? So if you think of just the last 50, 60 years, there's the whole voting system. Women couldn't vote. Even now, there's some countries that women can't drive. You've got laws for all sorts of things. You know, abortion laws coming in now. Some places are still making that illegal. Same-sex marriage is only a recent thing. Women's rights and equality, that's all very recent. If you think of thousands of years ago, what life must have been like back then, of course these texts are going to be rewritten over time just to move with the modern day. So, of course it's okay to be gay. You know, you're not murdering anybody. And I also, you know, I don't appreciate being preached either. I think believe what you want to believe in whatever religion you want to believe in. That's fine. Just don't let it affect my life.
Okay. I understand.
I'm not having a rant. I'm not ranting. I'm just literally like...
I think one of the great things about religion that I see is people that have no guidance in life, or they've kind of hit rock bottom. Don't know what they're doing with themselves, or like looking for the next drink, next puff, next whatever, and they turn to the Lord and they can completely change their life around. I feel like in instances like that, religion is great. Even if I don't technically believe in a certain religion. So in some ways it's good. It's good for people, because sometimes people need something. They need something in life to believe in, to turn to when times are hard, or just to get through life in general.
Yeah, and I know people who have had those experiences, and that's absolutely fine. Like, going back to what I just said, you know, you can believe whatever religion you want to believe in. You can hit rock bottom, find the Lord, change life around. fine. That's on that person. If that helps them get through the hardships, if that helps them change their life, go from poverty to being rich, whatever it might be, and you can put it on luck or fate or the Lord, is it all the same thing? No one knows. Whatever it is, that's fine. But it's when it's pushed into your face that this is what you've got to do and that's how you have to behave. That's the kind of stuff. That's where I think religion can be dangerous. But I know we are going off a bit of off topic here. But yeah, religion I think should be taken as guidance. Ultimately, change the rules where you want to change them, make it fit you, but just be the best person you can be.
I can agree with that.
I still try to be sensitive about that topic because it is quite it's a big subject and it can open a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to put me in a religious environment, I'm not going to be disrespectful. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't have any issues with religion. I just don't necessarily believe in any sort of religion. And
actually, having done a lot of weddings over my years, I've done a lot of Hindu weddings, I've done a lot of Sikh weddings, Muslim weddings. It's interesting, even though I don't necessarily believe what they talk about or anything, read from, but it's very interesting to watch, and the sort of ceremonial aspects of the event is always really fascinating, with like petals and the little fire, and I'm sure there's all technical words for all this kind of stuff, but it's very fascinating to watch, and the colours, and it's a beautiful, the weddings are just beautiful to be in. So every religion will obviously have its own way of doing things, or weddings or funerals or just life in general. Like if you go to your local church or your local mosque or whatever it might be, they'll all have their way of doing things. And it's just fascinating to explore that. Again, it doesn't directly affect me, but it's just really interesting, if nothing else, more than, curiosity, just to kind of see people's backgrounds and cultures. And, I love traveling, that's no big secret. So I love I've been into temples, and just to be in awe of this whole nother culture, really, that I don't know anything about. So it's really fascinating from an outsider's point of view to explore other religions, if not to be involved in religion as such, but just to kind of be a part of that for a day or for an hour or whatever it might be. It's really fascinating. Like it doesn't have to be religion as such, but even just like backgrounds when it comes to like your natives as well. I find that really fascinating.
Mm. Yeah, because we have our own beliefs as well, just as a culture.
It's just a really fascinating subject. It's a massive subject, but just totally fascinating to me. So yeah, just a sort of a general comment really for people who might be watching this podcast on YouTube. If you are in the LGBTQ community and do follow religion quite heavily, I'd be interested to know your thoughts on this subject and just kind of try and get an understanding really as to your mindset.
I'm just thinking of the next topic, drunk stories. I don't know where to start. I have a lot of violent drunk stories as well.
Yeah, I think we want some comical ones.
I know. I don't know why, it's just the violent ones coming to mind first. Did I tell you about the time? I think I did. Told you I was like stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've told you quite a few actually now I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to think of the funny ones though. I think there's some funny ones.
How about the one from the Philippines proposing to... we talked about that one already, didn't we? The karaoke night we did on my last night. I didn't take the camera. You just captured all this.
Now that I'm thinking about that night, well, why didn't you bring your camera? You were right there. We weren't that far from your accommodation. It's very unlike you to not bring it, even if it's a drunken thing. Like, I want my camera with me at all times. I felt
refreshed not taking it. I felt like because I've always got it on me, and I just felt being free from it, not having to worry about it or capturing a shot. I was just like completely like just woken up that morning.
Yes, I'm like you also, but sometimes I'm like, when I'm out and I don't have my camera, I'm like, fuck, I wish I had my camera. So I always make sure I got it just in case.
I don't know. I think my intent on that night was just to have like a drink and some food and then go back or something. I didn't intend on staying out. And
you weren't expecting that one.
No, it just completely threw me. So I'm glad you had the camera.
I knew a few beers sets the tone right away.
Yeah, a few beers and I'm anyone's, aren't I?
I mean, I'm exactly the same. A few beers and I'm in a party mood. Oh, I always am in the Philippines. I love drinking in the Philippines. I still haven't had a drink since New Year's, by the way.
That's mad, eh?
New Year's Eve. Because the thing is, if I could drink right now if I wanted to. It's not that, I've given up drinking entirely. Unless I'm going out to have a good night, no reason to have a drink.
I think for me, when the weather starts getting warmer and the sun's coming out, and it's just, because we don't get that much nice weather, especially over winter. So when we do get it, it feels like a holiday vibe. So you want to kind of go out in the garden, sit there with a beer, and it kind of wants you to, it gets you in that sort of mood. Barbecue weather, oh yeah, awesome. I mean, if you live that every single day, I suppose you do get kind of used to it.
Yeah, and I feel like as someone who's been heavily drinking since a teen, it was only a matter of time before I got to this point where I'm just not going to drink at all. I don't think you understand how much of a pisshead I was back home. I had to, if I didn't move, I would have been so bad right now.
Oh, really?
I would have been a fucking mess.
But you're glad you moved?
Oh, it's partly why I moved. I need to change. But drunken stories.
Yes.
Do you have any you'd like to share with us, Dan?
I have a few. But I'll just share the one. It's probably one of the worst times.
That you've been on the piss?
Well, worst hangovers too. Oh, it was awful.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh. Picture this. You're on holiday on this beautiful little island in Greece.
Beautiful.
We booked onto this Greek night, so we were being picked up from the hotel in this beautiful coach, taken off to the mountains.
Who's we?
Stops me and the ex-girlfriend.
Oh, plot twist.
Yeah, plot twist. So we get taken up, and also other people on the tour. We get taken up to this this mountain where we watch the sunset on the horizon. It's beautiful. And then we get taken around a little bit further. Bearing in mind, this is like a windy mountain. The roads are quite narrow. How a coach got around there, I don't know. We get to this place, beautiful restaurant, and it was an all-inclusive experience. So you have all these tables, like a wedding, effectively. You had all these tables laid out with an unlimited amount of wine. White wine or red wine. Come in massive jugs, and I was like, okay. Now, prior to this event, I'd learned don't mix your drinks, which is a term that I heard so much through my youth years. And there was one occasion where I did mix them a bit too much. Wasn't a great night. And then, so from that day on, I was like, right, don't mix my drinks. So fast forward back to this night again. The reason why I mixed my drinks prior to that, by the way, was it was red wine, white wine, God knows what. It wasn't good. The red wine... No. So back at this Greek night, I'm seeing these jugs of wine, and the nearest one happens to be red, and I thought, right now, last time, because I'm normally a white wine drinker if I drink wine, normally sparkling wine, but anyway, if I'm going to drink wine, I'm going to just stick to the one. Now, the red one was closer, and I thought, if I start on that, I kind of have to finish with that. So I committed. Save me having to wander down this long table to go and get the white one. So I'm pouring away, and the meal gets brought to you. You get your starters, your mains, and your desserts. It's all great. The wine's flowing. We're having a great time. The Greek dancers are doing like a traditional Greek dance. It's all music. It's great. Great evening. Got chatting to this couple next to me. Actually, it wasn't a couple. Two girls. Quite easy on the eye. A little bit older than I was, but we all got on great. They were from the north of where I live, so it's kind of funny making fun of the accents. It was all, good, happy vibes. By the end of the Greek night, I couldn't even tell you how much wine I drank. It must have been an enormous amount.
Bloody hell.
I'm sat on this coach now. Now I'm in the passenger side, the inside of the coach, so I'm on the aisle side, so I can't see out the window. It's dark anyway. Now, as I said earlier, on a mountain, the roads are a bit windy, and the bus driver wasn't that slow. I'm starting to feel it. Right, so I'm sat in the aisle seat. My ex-girlfriend was by the window. In the opposite side of the coach were these two girls that we'd met. You meet these new people, you don't look like a lightweight or embarrass yourself in front of new people. So you're kind of like trying to hold it in, contain yourself. And I'm there thinking, I don't feel so good. What can I do? Try and close my eyes. Nope, that's not helping. Look outside. It's dark. I can't see anything. And the coach is there like this, braking and accelerating and going around corners. And I'm thinking... yeah, I need to go and sort something out. Meanwhile, I'm also desperate for a piss. And I'm thinking, this could be a good time to take a piss. And if I feel sick, also lit up in the same time. 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
Everything's great. And I looked a little further down the coach, and I can see the stairs going down. I think, great, I'll just climb my way over to there, get down these steps, shut the door, and everything will be fine. So I did. I crawled down to these stairs, not on the floor, like, it's my microphone stand. So I wasn't literally on the floor crawling, but like headrest to headrest, get down these stairs somehow without flinging myself out of the emergency exit door. Put myself in this room, and I couldn't find the lock. So and the door kept swinging open a little bit, so I had to keep like holding on to that. So I'm like one arm pirate or something, and I whip out me.
Yes, Dan. Yes.
So I was trying to find some comic word then, but nothing came to mind. And there I am, like this, also drunk, going around all these corners, trying to take a straight piss, right? And I have no idea where it's going. So, there's no light in the bathroom either, which I thought was weird. So I'm just literally flying blind here. Hope for the best. And while this was happening, I was like, I know I'm aiming down, but it feels like I'm pissing on my shoulder. I realised there was a mop hanging in this room that must have been obviously wet or something, and it's just brushing my shoulder, and I was like, oh, that's horrible. Now I'm there doing this, trying to see what I'm doing, trying to hold myself against the window so I'm not like, going around flying myself around this whole room, and the door's still flapping about, so I'm exposing myself to God knows who.
Multitasking.
And as it turns out, as well as vomiting all down myself, I was also not in a toilet. I was in a cleaning cupboard, hence the mop. I'm pissing into what I think was the mop bucket. Probably pee all over the floor, all over the walls. I got red wine, bearing in mind, red wine vomit down my shirt. It was brand new. I'd ruined my shirt. And because I had the mop dripping on me and God knows what all over me in sweat because it was warm, I'm a bit sticky around the leg area because of the heat and stuff. So I'm trying to pull my shorts up, and you know what it's like when you try and pull wet clothing up, it just sticks to your leg, and I just couldn't get it over me. And my ex-girlfriend comes down the steps, mortified. She's like, come on, we gotta go. So I'm there, like, trying to wrap everything up. And I swear to God, I have no idea. I tried my best to pull up my shorts, but I have no idea whether I was hanging out of my shorts or not.
Oh my God.
I was praying to God my shirt was covering my bits, because otherwise I'm on show. Not only was I thinking I was going to be pulled out of this toilets, which weren't toilets, to be put back on the coach, but in fact, we were being kicked off the coach.
What?
So I had to walk down this whole aisle full of people, potentially with my knob hanging out.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, it was awful. And the coach driver said he'd come, like, drop everyone off, come back and pick me up, and we'd get taken back to our hotel. In fairness, he did. But I don't remember much else from that night.
Oh my God. Can't take you anywhere, Dad.
I woke up the next day, looked at my shirt, and I was like, oh God, there was red stains all over the shirt.
Oh God.
Shorts were being chucked to one side of the room. Oh my
God. Did you have any recollection of that prior, or did you kind of just have to figure out what happened? Or you remember the whole thing?
Pretty much as I described it, it's kind of how much I remember it.
Okay. I was just wondering. Because
usually
if something like that happens to me, there's a huge part of it I just don't remember if I'm that bad. And then I just figure out by looking at myself the following day, okay, this must have been what happened.
Yeah, and I kind of wish I also had no recollection and no potential piece puzzling. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I do remember a lot of it. Apart from after I got off the coach, maybe that fresh air hit me and I'd forgotten a lot. I don't know. Because I think when I get a bit tired as well, my brain loses its short-term memory, so I don't remember much. Sadly, maybe I've retold that story that many times that it's now just ingrained in there forever. Yeah. And then to make it worse, apart from feeling like I wanted to die, just out of embarrassment more than anything, the 2 girls, by the way, stayed on the coach. I never spoke to them again. We went on a different tour like a few days later for this island hop thing, and we got picked up by a coach, and it was the same coach driver.
Oh, God.
And he said to me, are you feeling okay today? And I went, yes.
Oh, Dan, Mr. Nice Guy, in a state. I feel like I've kind of seen you close to that sort of state in the Philippines. Like, if we had stayed much longer, we'd just keep drinking, because I could have kept drinking a few more buckets at least. But I feel like
it depends as well.
I feel like if you were to carry on, might have seen a glimpse of that, Dan. Not gonna lie. Because you were definitely on one.
I blame the mountainous roads for that story. And the lack of a toilet.
That's hilarious.
I think it depends what I drink as well, because sometimes if I drank 2 bottles of Carver, and the next day I was hungover. I was pretty bad. I don't think I was sick that much, but I was pretty much bedridden until like 4 or 5 p.m. That's just 2 bottles of wine effectively, but I think wine affects me more. Oh my God.
Yeah,
the
me too.
Vodka story. So do you ever do that thing where before you go out on a night out, you have like pre-drinks at your mates?
Yeah. Still do that shit now.
just making sure that wasn't like just a thing that we did. Okay. So
That's always
I'm at
the
my
thing.
friend's house and he gave me a pint glass and filled it half with vodka and half with like a Red Bull or something. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll go. And drank all that. And then he gave me another one of the same. So another half a pint of vodka and an energy drink.
Mm-hmm.
And to go to his house, you've got to take your shoes off, right? So the
I hate those houses. I hate those houses.
Those guys. So we had to leave this night out and the taxi comes. So we go downstairs and I can barely put my shoes on. I'm just like falling all over the place.
God.
Was fucking shit-faced.
Sakes, Dan.
I barely made the taxi ride. I got to where we wanted to go and they wouldn't let me in the club. I was trying to count my money, trying to get into the club, and I was there like with my change and all over the floor, like trying to find where my money all went.
I've kicked people like you out of clubs, Dan.
My mate just put me back in the taxi and sent me home. So my night out was basically pre-drinks. And as I was walking, for some reason, I don't know why this was the case, because I wasn't really aware what was going on. The taxi dropped me off in the next road to where I actually lived. It might be a safety thing, actually, like from a mate's point of view. I don't know, but I had to walk around the corner and then like to my mum's. And all I can remember is texting my friend to say that I got home. And I just had like in my peripherals, I saw the ground getting closer, and then I realised I was on the floor. I just collapsed. And then I managed to scramble up. I got to my mum's house. I'm knocking on the door, and all my mum said to me, like, all she saw when she opened the door was me on the floor against the door. My phone, which I dropped under the camper van, luckily not smashed, unlike me. And they pulled me in, and this is like probably not even 11 o'clock at night. I was pretty wasted. I was awful.
I'm not gonna lie, I've had a lot of bad experiences on the piss, but I've also had a shitload of nights out. I don't even know where to start with my stories. Some of my stories are quite violent, although, and to be fair, I feel like a lot of them weren't started because of me. I feel like it's just wrong place at the wrong time. But I'm trying to think of a story to share, because you've been quite open about this. Like, yours are quite funny, quite humorous. Mine aren't humorous. They're quite fucking bad. They're really bad. A lot of my nights that I've been like pretty drunk, I've actually got videos of it. Before I started my YouTube channel, my main channel, had another channel which was my music channel, but I kind of switched it up and I started vlogging on the piss. But it wasn't really a vlog, it was just me recording all drunk shit. And I'll make compilations of it with my friends and have like a little intro of them with their names popping up with intro music. It's kind of like a drunk TV show, reality show. I don't know if I should be showing you. I think it's just better to show you my state, because all the stories I've got is just, I don't even think there's any humor in it.
Mate, I'm not proud of my moments either, but at least they're marginally humorous.
You've got a bit of a story to yours though. Mine are just, this was how I was.
Yeah, this happened kind of thing.
Yeah, this happened, and there's no build up or anything. This isn't even really a story, but this is something that happened. Obviously still the teen living at home. Fuck, I can't believe I got this drunk. I can't even tell you how old I was. I think I might have been 16, 17. I used to go out every weekend, every couple of nights a week. Still going to school and that. And I remember I don't remember this, but this is what Mum told me the following day. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and going to the toilet. In my mind, everything must have been inverted, like the landscape of the house. Like, so the toilet is this way, right? But in my mind, the toilet was this way. And opposite the toilet, there was a pot plant. So instead of pissing in the toilet, I pissed on the wall in the pot plant. Fucking terrible. That's not even the worst part of it. Because everything was inverted, my room was back this way. Instead of going this way, back into the room, I went this way and into that room. And this room obviously wasn't my room, but I was just like, Dad, what are you doing in my bed? Get out. Get out of my bed. I was like pushing him. I was like, Mum, get out of my bed. And I was literally like climbing his trying to like get him off my bed so I could go to sleep. Because I must have been sleepwalking as well. Like half drunk, half sleepwalking, and my mind is confused. And somehow they must have convinced me that, no, my room is not where they're sleeping. It's in my room where my room is. And yeah, I woke up the next day hungover as shit. I can just remember the look on my mum's face, just like, for fuck's sakes, boy. What is wrong with you? That's like one of the lighthearted stories. That's not even a story in comparison to some of the shit shows I've been in.
Well, at least he didn't take a shit.
Let me think. Let me think. There's other situations. Nah, I don't think I've ever been that bad.
My uncle shat in his bed once.
Was he pissed?
I think so. I can't remember. I can't remember how he told the story. Well, he drinks a lot of beer, so I'm gonna go with the probability of that he was.
Most likely.
He was with a girlfriend, and he was probably in his like 30s or whatever, 40s.
Might be you one day, Dan. Runs in the family.
He was with his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. I can't remember who now. Ex-girlfriend, actually. He just shat on her chest.
What? What?
He was drunk, and he must
have you just made this the title, Dad?
He just said, I'm sure he just like woke up, but maybe he's just like, obviously, like you, a bit confused, bit of drinking him. He just sort of took a shit on her.
What? I don't understand. Was he inverted as well?
I don't even know. But it's not the first time he's done a shit in his bed either.
Who other chest has he shit on?
Well, that was just the one occasion. I don't think they were together much after that. But they were...
I suppose on the bright side is glad it was the chest and not the face.
Silver lining, yeah. There was an occasion, maybe it's the family, I don't know, but he said there was an occasion where they've got a dog, had a dog. The dog's gone into the bedroom and took a shit in the bed. It was all over the covers and everything.
Oh, maybe it is the dog then.
Well, that time was, but on the chest thing was him. I mean, that's not really a story you want to share, but he's quite open with that, so I don't think he'd have made it up. It doesn't paint him in a good light.
No.
He's getting married this year.
It's a good wedding story.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I just thought of another story. It's not really a story, but it's something that happened. The night of my 21st birthday, it was pissing down raining. We ended up having it at the house. It was somewhat of a last minute thing because the way things are back home, you can't drink past a certain time when you're hiring out venues. Like there's a curfew, and it's usually around, I think it used to be midnight, but before that it used to be like 3 a.m. And then I think at the time it was like 10 or 11, which obviously isn't enough time for 21st. So we ended up having it at the house. We had like this big tarp set up in the backyard. Then it was pissing down, so it kind of made it harder to set everything up. And because we had like my dad's DJ gears outside, it was a hard birthday because my parents would always talk about, the day I turned 21, how dad was going to DJ. It was going to be a huge piss up. But obviously he didn't make it to see my 21st. Anyway, I got fucking shit face. I don't remember anything past midnight. And I think we were going till at least 5 a.m. in the morning. So I have a mixture of friends, like there's JB, and then I've got a group of friends that are all Samoan, some Māori friends. Well, anyway, my mum told the Samoan friends that they're free to help themselves to the food because we had shitload of food. Throughout the night, they ended up taking a whole tray of meat. My mum told them help themselves, but not take the whole fucking tray of food home. So they took a whole tray of food. It's all good. We still had plenty of food there, but just that little fact was hilarious. But when I woke up in the morning, not only were there like mates like crashed out all over the fucking house, but I woke up next to half a cooked chicken next to my head. I literally woke up and looked it in the eye. I was like, what the fuck? And then I got up, went into the kitchen and get a drink of water, and then I seen my auntie came down for it as well, and I remember looking at her and she just had the most disgusted look on her face, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I must have been in pretty bad shape because there's like 5 hours unaccounted for. Like,
you didn't screw the chicken, did you?
I hope not.
Did you eat the chicken the next day?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, there's still good food. Still good food. I was hungry. Made a chicken sandwich. It wasn't no plate, just on the pillow. I'm just like, why? Why is this happening?
That's brilliant.
Oh, God. I don't know if I want to share this one. This is a good one. It's on the piss one night. As you do.
Really, Shay?
No, I was in the mood. Anyway, by the end of it, I was chatting to this girl. It was a girl actually that I knew from school. It's not someone that I probably would have gone there with at school, but she wasn't bad either. Anyway, we went back to the house. Not my house, her house, as you do. Mm-hmm. And as two people do. It's two people. Yes, two people do. You do stuff. You get it done. During the stuff, I fell asleep. That's not even funny. It's not even funny. Like I fell asleep in this position too.
Oh my God.
Anyway, as I woke up, she was next to me asleep, ended up crashing out. As I opened my eyes, I could see the shadow at the end of the bed. And I looked up and I was like speechless. I didn't say anything, but it was her partner at the time. And I knew this guy. I knew him.
Oh, shit.
And he looked like he wanted to cry. He ended up walking around. That's not even the worst part. Everything was hanging out. So I was looking at him. I was like, shit. So it was like a sleep out area. He walked around the curtain, sat down on the couch. I could see him. There was like a curtain covering around the bed, some sort of fucking see-through thing. Anyway, he went and sat down. He was just like this. As I was heading my way out, I was like, sorry, bro. And she also woke up at the same time. And as I left, she looked like, oh, fuck, she's got to deal with this shit. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll text you later. And then I just walked home. It was bad. It's like some movie shit. Like, I never thought that would ever happen to me.
Did you know she was seeing somebody?
Maybe. But the thing is, this is palmy, mate. Like, sometimes you don't know. They could have been, they could have not been. Shit happens. But yeah, I told her, I'll text you later.
And did you?
Yeah.
Was she okay?
Yeah.
Are they still together?
No.
Because of that?
I don't know. But I know she is with one of my other mates from school. It was funny because I thought he was going to do something. Like, I thought what I was thinking in the moment, I was like, fuck, I need to quickly pull my shit up so I can knock this guy out, because I thought that's most normal people would do that. You would hit the guy. So I was prepared to not knock him out if I had to. But the thing is, he knows that back then I had beef with one of his friends, one of his good friends. So that's why I was like, fuck, of all fucking people, this fucking guy.
Yeah,
but he was quite the opposite. I was surprised. He was very upset.
How long were they together for?
I'd say a little while, because I kind of know her and him to have been together. I assume they were together at the time for him to drop by like that.
I'd ask if she was worth it, but then I suppose if you fell asleep,
I was drunk as shit. I was tired too, obviously. Literally fell asleep. I fell asleep like this. Not one of my proudest moments.
No, we've all had our...
Unfortunately, there are worse.
I did something similar as well. I'm going to clap so you don't put it in the video, just because you can. So, I thought of myself here.
We gotta, this is a good one, eh?
Is this cool? You can't use it.
Yeah. I thought we were applauding because it's going to be a good one. It's the grand finale. The episode ender. Thing is, Dan, what if I put this in and you just look like a clapping idiot? Telling a story. No, I won't put it.
That's true.
Are we going to do the next topic?
So, drugs. They're a bit shit, aren't they?
Very bad.
We found out, maybe it's because of lockdown and everyone's at home a lot more often, that you start seeing things in the neighbourhood that you maybe knew were there, but maybe didn't know how frequent it was there. And we realised that our neighbours a few doors down like a bit of smoky on the wacky backy. And I wouldn't mind that much. You know, people can do what they want in their homes, but it's all in the garden and it drifts over our way. And you can smell it in your house. You know, your windows could be shut, but you could still smell it in the house. And,
don't you ever be like...
No, I really hate it. And I've got a kid as well, and it's like, I don't want her breathing all that crap in, and it really bothers me. And it just, like I say, if they were just smoking it like now and again, fair enough, but it's quite a lot. And it's worse because I get people coming around quite frequently. Even during lockdown, people were still coming over. They're on the driveway just like dishing out bags of this stuff. And I'm just like, mate, it's daylight. What are you doing? There's no subtlety to it. And it really annoyed me the one day, and I took some photos.
Oh, Mr. Investigator Dan.
My wife, funny enough, my wife was reporting them coincidentally the same time I was taking these photos. I've called it drugs on my phone because, you know, you got to...
Teamwork makes the dream work.
I'm not going to show faces.
Let's expose those bastards.
But this does not look like a bag of sandwiches.
Oh, no.
And then
definitely not. Looks like a bag of good times.
This one looks like you with all your tats. I realise for our audible viewers, you're not going to know what we're talking about. So it's basically just pictures of people who have masked their faces holding bags of what looks like marijuana.
And to be fair, that's one of the kind of drugs. Yeah,
it's not the worst thing in the world, but I think that's part of the problem is it's so easy to obtain that everyone's doing it.
Have you seen Friday, the film? Friday.
No.
Oh, just I don't know, it just brought back memories of that film because there was a lot of weed smoking in it. Chris Tucker stars in it. Chris Tucker and Ice Cube. Yeah, Chris Tucker and Ice Cube. I can't remember how the saying goes, but I just remembering this. His character, Smokey, he said something along the lines of, "Weed is from the earth. God put this here for me and for you." Just like the way he says it with his high-pitched voice. I don't know why that came to mind. Anyway. Yeah, it is one of the...
I can picture that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's legalized in some countries or certain states, and there are medical reasons. So I get the whole argument and people trying to make it legal and whatever. But I just hate the stuff. And it's probably no worse than alcohol, ultimately. But it's just maybe by definition, that's what it's classed as. It used to be a thing that... I think part of it is association as well. So, like, when I could smell it, it's funny, no one tells you what it is, but you know what it smells like.
Have you ever got stoned in your lifetime? You never?
I've never smoked anything.
Oh.
Fun fact, I've never smoked anything in my life.
Interesting. Wish I could say the same.
You know, I've got family who've smoked weed now and again, just like if it's a one-off occasion or even just in their younger days. But when I went to school... Well, okay, so partly my mum and dad and most of my family smoked cigarettes anyway. So I was always told never to smoke, blah, blah, blah. And when you see the damage it's doing to them and the smell I used to walk into their houses and my eyes used to get so tired. So I was never into smoking anyway. I always hated it.
That secondhand smoke.
It's just the worst. Then there's like school, right? So the other people who would go for their crafty fag. Fag was not a slang term for gays.
I know.
Yeah, you never know. Certain countries have different slang words. So, cigarettes.
I think British and like Australian, New Zealand, some of the slang.
Okay, maybe it's just Americans that have a different.
Yeah, it's just Americans that don't fucking understand stuff.
Yeah. So a crafty cigarette, right?
It's different.
So you get the same kinds of people that go in the bushes in the back of the bike sheds or whatever, and they're always the scum of the earth kind of people, and they would be the ones also who would be smoking this marijuana stuff. You're like, I don't know where you're going to get it from anyways, but you're somehow getting it. And it's always that association, like you'd be on a public bus and you'd be on the top deck of a double decker and you'd just smell it from like the guys at the back, and you're like, fuck mate, just it. So for me, it's the association with like scum.
So funny.
Not to tarnish everyone with the same brush, but in my experience, the people who smoke that are the same kinds of people who I never want to be associated with. So when the neighbours are smelling it and everything, I'm just like, I don't want to be living around this neighbourhood.
It's so funny because it's kind of normal back home. Whenever I'll be on the piss somewhere, even like as a teenager, there's always someone that's getting stoned. Like it was just almost considered the norm. Now, the one drug that I have an issue with, and I have a few close friends that have had some problems on this because it's just it fucks up your whole life, and that is meth. P. And even that is quite common back home too. A lot of my friends, Shit. It's quite easy to get. I've even been in situations where I'll be on the pits and I'll be, having a good time, and then I'll be wondering like, where's my bro at? Like, I thought we were going to keep drinking, and then I find my way into the bathroom and I see him and his boys all fucking their arms and the needle, and they'll ask me if I want to ever go. I'm like, no, fuck off, and I just end up leaving. There's been so many scenarios where I could have, because I've just been offered it. I don't know why people do the shit, but I've always hated that. Like, I don't care so much about marijuana is the fucking meth.
Yeah.
It's shocking. And actually, I don't know if I should mention this. Actually, fuck it. They're not going to watch this. One of my cousins back home, her partner he's currently in prison, I think. And he's had huge problems with meth. Now, I don't know if I sent you the article where she actually ended up being interviewed on Māori television back home.
Yeah, I remember
about her partner's addiction. I think back then, like, they were working through it. Like, he was working on getting clean, and then maybe like a year or two later, he's back on the shit. Recently locked up again, pulled a firearm on police. Just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I don't know why people do this shit. I've also never liked this guy too. Few run-ins.
I can imagine.
I've wanted to just rip his head off. Just didn't like him. It's weird though, because I would always say things in my family. This is what I see, and this is what's going to happen. And then they completely ignore it, and then it eventually happens. And like, no one fucking listens.
Well, it's good that you got the power of foresight, really. You can see some things coming a mile away, can't you? This is the kind of, I don't know if it's the environment or the behavior, the surroundings. It's just something that's like always triggers the same things. It's like me. I like eating chocolate. I want to lose weight, so stop fucking eating then. Last time
there's nobody who compared that with eating chocolates. Mr. Nice Guy,
if you don't
Dan.
change your behaviour, if I did the shopping, maybe I wouldn't buy those things, so I wouldn't therefore have that need to go to the cupboard if it's not there, right?
It's so funny how you make that comparison. That's good.
Yeah, it's shit. I mean, weed's not the worst thing in the world, but it's still something that I'd rather not be around. If you talk about, people getting jacked up and stuff, there was the one thing that surprised me. I was talking to a friend who works for a design agency. I'm not going to name names, of course, but her boss and some of the colleagues, bearing in mind they're probably in their 50s, 40s, 50s, they'd go out like pubs and clubs or whatever just to, for a company drink or whatever it is, and they'd be on cocaine. What?
Wait, I've got to...
Serious?
That is so interesting that you brought this up, because I don't know if I told you about my New Year's Eve recently.
Other than you haven't drank since then.
Yeah, well, I ended up... It was kind of a weird one. Like, it wasn't the New Year's Eve that I expected. Anyway, I ended up drinking with one of my mates. And that one girl that I told you about here, that is from there, from where you are. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Well, I ended up meeting up with her. It ended up being after midnight at a house that she was house sitting. And this was the last time I've seen this girl too. Anyway, it was kind of weird because I don't know, maybe I'm out of touch because I don't usually go out, but I wasn't expecting it just because we're all around the similar age. For some reason, these guys, everyone there, a small group of us, they were all desperate for cocaine. And they eventually got some, and then I don't know if they snorted the shit. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, are we in like fucking high school doing this shit? Like, I didn't expect it for that age. I'm just wondering why they needed it, because this was towards the end of the night. This isn't the start of, building up to New Year's Eve. Like, we're towards the end, but you need this to continue on your night. I just didn't understand. And she even took some too. She had some sort of reasoning behind it. I'm just like, this is like, I'm not feeling the scene. I'm not feeling the scene. Yeah, I'm not feeling the scene anymore. The scene's completely changed. I thought we were just having a few drinks. And it completely put me off. Not entirely, but because I was still messaging her the following day.
You still slept with her?
No, I didn't go there. She ended up being upset throughout the night. I think she said she lost some family to COVID. And I don't know how I can't remember what she said because I was kind of pissed at the time as well, but somehow that tied into her wanting to take that for the family. I don't fucking know. I don't understand. But now that I'm looking back on it, it was a bullshit scenario, but the fact that everyone was so just casual about it. The thing is, I probably put cocaine slightly below meth because I feel like meth is fucks with you more, just based on what I've seen. But it's still fucked. It's still fucked. But
I just can't believe how easily accessible all these things can be. I mean, there was a time where it was just like, even if you wanted to, who would you go to? And then suddenly it's like on every.
Yeah, it's quite easy. Yeah, it's quite easy. Like when I first moved here, one of my mates I used to work with, he would always buy a weed by like the bag. Like I think it was like $400 a bag, a huge fucking bag, and he'll get it delivered to him at work on his lunch break. I was just looking at this guy. And he's just like, here's the money to the guy, just holding the bag, puts it in this car. I'm just looking at this guy, you fucking mess. I've never seen it bought in that quantity. Usually it's like, I don't know if they call them tinnies where you are, when they're in the tin foil.
Mate, I'm not even in that world. I have no idea what the lingo is.
But yeah, that whole cocaine incident, I was like, fuck this.
But, like we were saying in one of our earlier parts of this podcast, talking about, I think it was a whitening soap. People shouldn't really use it. It's a ridiculous product, but it's a big industry. You can't just cut off all drugs because I just whacked myself with the testicle.
For fuck's sakes, mate, what is going on?
Fuck. Okay. So yeah, like to get rid of all drugs would be ideal for me, but obviously, in terms of like illegal drugs, I mean, would be ideal, but it's such a huge industry in some countries as well. Like, not to point the obvious, but you look at South America, it's a massive probably billion-dollar industry. So there's always going to be people out there dealing stuff. It's just one of those things, facts of life. In fact, with social media and the internet and everything, I think it's made everything a lot more accessible. Even if it's like black market shit, it's just, if you know where to look, you know where to look. Oh man, I wish I was back in the 90s again. It was such a better time back then.
What, for drugs?
or lack of, but just everything just seemed better. There's not any stress back then. Like life was much happier back then.
You were a child then. Of course it was better.
That's probably
You're
why.
not going to see it as a child.
No,
I think you'll find it was just as bad. Absolute joy and bliss of being oblivious to it all.
I look at my daughter and I just think, God, you don't even know. not just drugs, but like the shit in this world, the politics, the war.
Oh, it's all shit, isn't it? This whole world is a big shit show.
When you think of all the shit going on and all the constant bickering, you go, what is it for? What are we all doing here? What is the point? If this is the best of humanity, we deserve to go extinct.
That's a question itself, though. What is the point of all of this? And there's the one thing that keeps coming back to mind. It's the one thing that everyone is searching for. Well, most people.
What's that?
Love.
We could just end that right there, to be honest.
We can. Yeah, we end it there.
Maybe love is all we need.
I don't know why the songs come to my mind. Love will keep us together. Do you know that song?
Well, I had, is it the Beatles? All you need is love.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys very much for watching or listening to this episode. We hope you stick around for future content. And of course, if you're new to the channel, do check out our previous parts/episodes as well. And we hope you enjoy those too. See you next time.
Thank you very much. What am I need to say?